Hey everyone, and welcome to another Konoha Reviews. With the lockdown still keeping everyone inside, I went through my game library and wanted to complete and review some older games I had never played or completed before. Battlefield 3 was one of those games. Please also let me know in the comments down below if there's a particular game you would like me to review, since with everybody staying inside, it is the perfect time to review some older games. I remember well when the first trailer of Battlefield 3 hit and people could not believe the graphical fidelity they were watching on screen. Now remember, this game was announced and showcased in the Xbox 360 era, and for most, it straight up looked like a next generation title. The game had incredible lighting and shadows, realistic motion captured animations, and believable facial expressions on the characters. The sound design was also top-notch, but was something we were getting used to since Bad Company. The game's graphics are so beautiful in fact, that they still easily hold up today. When one gets up really close to the ground or wall, you can definitely tell that the textures are not up to par with what we are used to nowadays, but there are currently still games coming out that I think look worse than this game. It is also insane to think that next year, this game will be 10 years old. Yes, you are looking at a nearly 10 years old game. Now there is one thing though that I absolutely hate, and that is how DICE is doing its best to take this visual beauty of the graphics away from you by putting all kinds of stuff on the screen you don't want. From dust specks, to light reflections, to raindrops or lens flares, there's so much on screen that hinders your sight that it's really annoying. I guess they did it to create a more cinematic effect, and I can see how that works since screenshots do indeed look a bit more cinematic because of it, but when you are playing, you actually don't want all that crap on your screen and you actually want to see what you're looking at. It is something I cannot stand, and of what I read, they got heavily criticized for this and dimmed it down a lot in the upcoming titles. Now for this review, I will mostly be talking about the campaign. I realize that of course Battlefield 3 is famous for its multiplayer, and that's the main reason for people to buy it. But if you followed the channel for a longer time, you know I love my single player games, and I've also reviewed Battlefield Hardline's campaign before, so this will mostly be regarding the campaign as well. What was really cool about the setup of Battlefield 3 is how it depicted the war in a bit more of a realistic way than Call of Duty did. Call of Duty went all out with its Modern Warfare campaign, where World War III started, and though it was very cool to play, it definitely felt quite out there. But Battlefield 3 takes you to Iraq and Iran in a more down-to-earth setting as you join a group of Marines and their story. You play as the soldier Blackburn. In the opening cutscene, he's interrogated for something he has done, which you'll find out over the course of the 4 to 5 hour campaign. The story revolves around a revolutionary and a Russian comrade who secure portable nukes to blow up major cities in the West. The story is not super engaging, but it's not boring either. In the beginning, with the interrogation, you think you're going to watch a book by the numbers type of military story, but there's a twist at the end where Blackburn shoots his CO, which I did not see coming. It was a surprising twist for sure, and I like that they did not go the entire America heck yeah route, but the decision to shoot him was made very quick, and the main character really did not have that much of a motive to trust the person who told him to shoot his CO. Anyway, the story is not the important part, but the levels and gameplay are. Despite the game being a lot more toned down compared to Activision's series, there's a great variety in areas that you play in, and the cool thing is that you can see that so much attention and detail has been put in almost every level. Sometimes you play games and you can clearly see that most of the attention and money went into the first half or the first 2/3 of the game, but then at the end, they clearly ran out of money or succumbed to the time pressure and had to rush things. I'm looking at you, Homefront. But that is not the case with Battlefield 3. You will visit dusty city streets, giant shopping malls, offices in Paris, wide open desert highways and tanks, and much more. And everything feels fresh and new, and you always look forward to what your next environment will be like. These environments also look especially good because of that earlier mentioned graphical fidelity. Even now, there were scenes and sights that were gorgeous to look at. But now for the gameplay. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. I remember how hyped everyone was for Battlefield 3 and also the campaign, but when it was finally released, people took note of how linear the campaign was. And not in the sense that Call of Duty games are of course also linear, but here you were always just a few steps of going out of bounds and getting this stupid notification that you had to return to the battlefield. In Call of Duty, they do this better because they just block off areas where you cannot go by having a fence, some rubble, or a burning wreck there. But in Battlefield 3, there are sometimes areas where you think you can go to since it's so wide in the open, and then you get the warning message as you have to uphold the exact route that they have lined up for you. And this is still true and is indeed very annoying. Even Call of Duty levels are often larger in size, so you at least have an opportunity to flank or take a slightly different approach. But here, that's not really the case. To many, Battlefield 3's campaign was a big disappointment, with being so linear and restrictive. But the irony in it is that I think that in retrospect, Battlefield 3 might be DICE's best campaign of Battlefield that they made. DICE is notorious for making stupid campaigns in their Battlefield games. Though Battlefield 1's campaign was acceptable and even fun in some levels, it lacked any sense of taking part in large-scale battles, the thing that Battlefield wants to replicate. Maybe the tank mission and the opening of the Gallipoli mission kind of replicated that, but that was about it. Battlefield 5 then is of course a disaster, with them wanting to show the war on a much smaller scale with personal war stories, taking any notion of the Battlefield formula out of it, and instead getting these stupid solo missions where you can either stealth kill or do some mediocre shooting. It is absolute garbage, and the only good thing about that campaign is the first intro mission that lasts maybe 10 minutes or less. But Battlefield 3, however restrictive it might be to some, does really capture that feeling of being part of something bigger, of being just a single man within a bigger war. Often, you are only with 3 or 4 other guys, but the sound design and visuals do convey that there are many more soldiers out there and that a big war and front is moving with you. But then there are also levels like the bank or tank mission where tons of troops are on screen at once, and you have your D-Day-like moments with you running frantically through the field as mortars and artillery fire are blasting comrades to pieces. Really action-packed and really thrilling. There are a few missions where they were obviously trying to copy the Call of Duty missions by having a sniper mission where you have to hide or hold your position to let patrols go by, but here the toned down theme does work against it, as it simply is not exciting, whereas All Gillied Up is of course legendary with its absurd setting. The other one is the infamous plane mission, which can be fun and visually impressive when you play it for the first time, but if you have to replay it for a second, or God forbid a third time, it becomes really tedious and boring. It's the definition of boring, as you just sit there and need to push a single button every now and then, having no control whatsoever over the plane itself. Luckily, in the tank mission, you do have full control, and it's very awesome indeed. The missions are also long and meaty, some missions easily lasting around 30 minutes. The campaign is still quite short though, but for reduced prices nowadays, it's definitely justifying the price. The shooting itself also does feel very nice, with great sound accompanying every shot, and the voice acting during these shootouts is also intense, with everybody screaming coordinates and their situations. In the end, I actually really liked playing the campaign, much more than I thought I would, since I heard it was so restrictive, and though that's definitely the case in some parts, there is enough to see, play, and experience to have an awesome time. The campaign and game is definitely prone for improvements though. The earlier graphical problems with all the crap on your screen really should be gone, and level design should be more interesting to let you feel a bit more free in terms of movements. Even the heavily scripted slow sections I did not mind, since there were clear rules like following a red cable that leads to a bomb or crawling behind my teammate as a sniper is taking us under fire. Every time you play that, the experience will be the exact same. But for a first time, it's hella intense and cinematic. Battlefield 3's campaign gets a 7.6. I think it's better than some campaigns out there where you don't get the feeling of being part of a larger scale operation, but the things that hold it back, like the restrictive nature and the graphical choices, make it to where I cannot enjoy it to the fullest. Is it the best campaign that DICE has made for their Battlefield games? Possibly. It's definitely better than Hardline. better than Battlefield 5, and I also think better than Battlefield 1, though I know many people did enjoy that. I've never played Battlefield 4, and we'll do a review of that in the future, but I know no one who ever talks about that campaign as well, and maybe it's for a good reason. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you all next time.